One being the public right-of-way sale, and then followed by the hearing for the plan specifications and form of contract for the career and technical education renovations at Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson High Schools. But to begin with, Mr. Wilson will lead us forward in the public hearing. Let the record show that all board members are present, and after the presentation, questions will be taken from the board, and then if anybody in the audience has a question regarding the the right-of-way sale, you can address the board at that time. So at this point, Mr. Wilson, would you give us our presentation, please?
Thank you. The district has been approached by the city of Council Bluffs to, the city would like to purchase 361 square feet near the corner of 25th and Broadway for a beautification area. This is a schematic of how this would look, looking from basically First National Bank, looking diagonal across the street. The pillar that you see there on the left is already there. So what they would be purchasing is some of the sidewalk area where they would put in some brickwork or beautification work, and then behind that pillar, they'd also purchase that area where they put in some greenery and shrubbery, which they would then be responsible to take care of. They want to do this as a part of beautifying the whole Broadway corridor. The district has been offered a fair market value of $15 a square foot for the 361 square feet for a total sale price of $5,415. That is my presentation, Mr.
Okay.
Desire.
Any questions from the board?
Dean, can you show where's that property again?
This, so TJ High School is behind that pillar over to the left.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So does
Just
this,
that corner?
Just that corner, yes.
okay, so no longer that bus stop at one
Yes.
point in time, right?
So we had some concerns, the manager at Hy-Vee and I discussed, and he had a concern that if they moved the bus stop to where that person is there on the corner, the one on the left, that his patrons would have to cross the street to get on the bus, because he does have a lot of people who, he said, who rides the bus and carry their groceries over there. Also, too, we were concerned that having a bus stop there could present some possible safety issues for our students as well. So after talking with Hy-Vee, he talked with the city planning department, and they're going to move the bus stop on the Hy-Vee side. No longer will there be a bus stop over here.
But Kyle, we do have a bus stop there currently, so they're gonna remove that. So they'll minus that, they're still gonna have one. The reason they were wanting to be on our property is they have a bus stop on the Walgreens and one across, so they wanted it to be the same. But when Hy-Vee contacted and wanted it to be there because they were gonna take theirs away, the city was willing to move that down, and so it just was perfect. It was a win-win.
So they want that corner of the property, the sidewalk?
Sidewalk and a little bit back of that area as well, correct?
It'll be a larger sidewalk than what it was when they
Yes.
put the brick in. So they need to take some of our land for that.
Okay.
And then they want to add the greenery around, like the light poles that you see and the sign there. So besides being able to expand the sidewalk, they want some of the land to do the planning and have greenery.
Okay. So
Are they
it's-
gonna put a median on the sidewalk?
I don't
So-
know about that one.
So the south side where the 25th Street sign is,
Mhm.
that's going to be their area as well?
That is their area there, yes. That's what they're buying, is that area. So it would be,
And the sole purpose is to widen the sidewalk?
widen the sidewalk and to have it, they want to put in, you see the walkways here, have it all blend in together, make it look nice for the Broadway Street project.
Okay.
So could we just give them this and take back that right away issue with, yeah.
I said, I'll swap with you, but it was not received as a yes.
Okay.
Or a good idea.
They didn't find humor in that?
No, they did
No
not.
humor, okay.
But we really don't have a problem with it, do we? be good partners with the city then.
Any additional questions? Since there are no more from the board, if anybody from the audience would like to address the board concerning the sale of property, please do so now. Seeing no one moving, next before us is the public hearing for the plan specifications and form of contract for the Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln High Schools career and technical education programs. And Ms. Pettit, would you please introduce your guest
Yes,
to
I
us,
will.
please?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Thank you, Board, for the introduction, Dr. Murillo. I'd also like to introduce Kim Bogat. She's our project architect from HGM working on the CTE project. So this evening, we would like to bring to you our public hearing for our CTE project, project number 19-010 for the Thomas Jefferson and ALCTE remodel project, phase number 2. Our first slide is of Thomas Jefferson High School, and I think everyone here has seen this project a couple of times, so we'll try to go through the plans pretty quick. The first plan is of Thomas Jefferson, and I just want to note real quick that there is a small addition kind of over in this area that we'll be talking about in a minute on the cost estimate, but the remainder of the project is in our current CTE classroom space. Talking about the schedule is actually the same for both AL and for TJ. If approved this evening, we'll be sending it out to bid tomorrow. We'll be receiving the bids on January 3rd, and we'll be bringing them back to the board for approval on the 8th of January. If all goes well, we'll be sending it out sending it out for construction the very next day with an anticipated completion date of August 9th. And this, like I said, is the same for both sites. Okay, this is the probable cost sheet for Thomas Jefferson. As you can see, there's a lot of line items here, so we'll try to make this a little bit smaller. Included in this project, we're going to have a little bit of demolition. We're going to add a small addition to the site that we pointed out earlier. We're going to be updating all the our finishes within the site, including flooring, painting, ceilings, cloud structure. We're also going to be adding some ornamental panels to kind of beautify some not so beautiful spaces, and also add some space for signage for our donors and other groups that are going to be working with us. There's a pretty large amount in there for electrical, mechanical, and plumbing. We're going to be adding some acoustical baffles to help with the classroom noise. I mean, as all of you know, these are noisy spaces. And then there's going to be a dust collection system added, and then we're going to be moving the lift over from Tucker Center to TJ. There's a 10% contingency added to our project cost for a total of $380,000. Moving on to AL, it's basically the same project schedule, but I want to note that our AL classroom space is a little bit different than the TJ space. Currently, this classroom over here was the old IT lab. This was a corridor that went out to the back dock area. And then this over here is the new addition for our automotive bay. The current CTE classroom is here in the middle. And then we'll go through the phasing here in a minute because this is a little bit more complicated project than our one over at TJ. At AL, you can see it's a little bit more expensive, a little bit more work going on. But to give you a little bit of detail, we're going to have some line items for demolition. The next line items 2 through 7 revolve around our new addition for the automotive wing. There's going to be some structural work in between the old IT classroom and the new CTE classroom. We're going to have to bring in some structural steel because we're blowing out the walls between the two spaces. We're going to update all the finishes, including the flooring, the painting, and the ceilings. We're gonna add some ornamental panels similar to the TJ for signage. And then there is a large amount of money on here as well for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And then we're also gonna probably have to do some sewer work around the backside where the addition's going in. There's also some money allocated for a gas meter relocation as well. There's a 10% contingency for a total of $849,500. This is our phasing plan for AL. Down here, the little reddish pink color is gonna be our first phase. Basically, what we're gonna need to do is open up the the new corridor that we put in over last summer, put a door into the yellow section for the CTE classroom, and then we're gonna have to put in a partition wall here to block off the blue section for the next phase. After that's completed, we can start work on the blue phase. And then the purple phase, we can start at any time, and that's really gonna be dependent on our weather and when we can get the footings in for that project, portion of the project. With that being said, we have a total project cost of $1,229,500. And this project's to be funded through a generous donation and then potentially some school district funding, depending upon our furnishings and other items that are gonna have to be added on top of construction. So, with that being said, if there's any questions or technical questions, we have Kim here. She's looking a little lonely to talk.
Any questions from the board? Bill?
That automotive thing is a whole new addition?
Yes, at AL.
Yes. And we won't have, automotive and TJ is already there?
There's enough space in TJ for automotive. In fact, we used to have an automotive area where the garage door was at TJ, so we're just adding that back in that area.
So on that map, all that purple is new,
Yes.
and that's what direction? Orientate
That
me.
is do you know where the existing CTE?
Yeah, I think so.
classroom is? And then the back dock area, it's
It's
on
back
that
in there.
corner of the building, kind of that's the
So it'd be to the south then?
southeast-ish corner. That building's oriented a little funny on this.
You're gonna put that closer to the road then, aren't you?
You know, the big hill that kind of goes down that side, it's gonna be on that end of the building.
There'll still be room to drive cars around there?
We can get small box trucks and cars up there, but the 18-wheelers will not be able to get up that back area anymore.
That's not gonna be an issue.
No, we're gonna have to do big deliveries up in the front of the building.
Anyone else?
I guess, what do we see as what's the life of these, like, what's the useful life of this? I think it's a great project, but what's the useful life of what we're gonna do to this, and when do we look at replacing these items on the road? Is that a 15 years, 20 years, 30 years? What's,
20-year
okay.
lifespan.
It seems like we seem to do lots of little things at times to make adjustments to make things work, and I always wonder, do we sometimes do big enough or enough room? Or do we think large enough sometimes what these could become?
And this is gonna be a pretty good-sized
good-sized
project.
space,
Yeah, and one thing that was really important to us, that it was equitable, that we had the same thing at TJ that we had at AL, and the vice versa. And so that's why we elected to go ahead and build out and put the automotive bays in, because we did have the ability to do that at Thomas Jefferson. And we didn't want to, one of the things that we're trying to negate is our students having to get in their cars or take a bus over to another building to get that class. And so this, taking with the technology team moving out of that area and giving us that space, it is just going to open up a whole new world for our students at AL.
So work can start January 2019, phase 3, I'm assuming that's June of 2019.
Oh, that's a typo.
And then,
It's June
What-
9th. or
what's the
2019.
estimated time of completion? Uh-huh. August of 2019, launch, go. That's moving pretty swiftly.
And we're enrolling
Time frame.
students.
Worried
and-
about rain.
Yeah, yeah, let's hope none.
The purple area is the weather-dependent
Uh-huh.
area.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, again, anybody from the audience, if you wish to address the board, now is the time to do that regarding the public hearing on the CTE programs.
One other question, Stacy. Isn't the band in the back of that area? The band room?
No, the band is farther to the north of that classroom. It's actually on the other side of the cafeteria. There's several band classrooms, and it's kind of back behind the stage.
Right.
Okay, we will take these items up during our regular board meeting. So at this time, the public hearing is closed. Now I'd like to open the regular board meeting for the Council Bluffs Community School District Board of Directors. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Ogres?
Present.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Arthur?
Present.
Mr. Minshaw?
Present.
Mr. McGlade?
Present.
Mr. LaFurla?
Present.
And Mr. Kazire.
Present. As you are able, would you please rise with me to observe a moment of silence, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For us now, we have the approval of our agenda. Is there a motion?
I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Mr. Grove?
I have no problem with the present agenda, but I think maybe at our next meeting, if we could have some discussion about what we learned at the IASB convention. I know John and I talked about a couple ideas we gained, and I think I would encourage us to put that on the next one.
Great idea.
Okay, we'll make sure we address that at the officers' meeting, yes. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, the motion before us is to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose, same sign. And the motion to approve our agenda has passed. Next up is the approval of our minutes from the workshop meeting of November 13th, 2018. Is there a motion?
I will move approval of the minutes from the workshop meeting of November 13th, 2018, as presented.
We have motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, before us now is the approval of our minutes of the workshop meeting of November 13th. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, and the motion is carried. Before us now is the time for public participation. Anyone who wishes to address the board concerning agenda items or any other item of concern, you would be advised to take the podium at this time. Seeing no one move that way, we will move next on to our superintendent's report. Dr. Murillo, would you please lead us in this portion of our meeting?
Yes, thank you very much. This is one of the times that we have, that we really enjoy, where we showcase the success of our students and the outstanding work of our staff. So Ms. Ostrowski, would you join me at the podium and introduce our guests this evening?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tonight we are pleased to introduce you to some talented student musicians. And these are students who achieved something very awesome, and that is they achieved the designation of being part of the All-State Music Festival. The All-State Music Festival auditions for the 281-piece All-State Band, 201-piece All-State Orchestra, and 601-member All-State Chorus were held Saturday, October 21st. The students selected for All-State represent the top 1% of student musicians in the state of Iowa, so it's amazing. The amount of practice and dedication to earn the spot is immense, as the skills demonstrated in the audition go far beyond the normal achievement levels of students their age. So the All-State Music Festival is also unique in that it forms one of the premier all-state student ensembles in the nation each year. The festival concert this year was held on November 17th, and perhaps some of you have seen it replayed on Iowa Public Television. It's also available on YouTube through the Iowa Public Television site. So I'd encourage you to go in. It's about an hour and 45 minutes, but it's time well spent. So as I call the names of these talented young people, would you please join, students, would you please join Superintendent Dr. Murillo at the podium to receive your STAR Award, which is our highest award for students and their accomplishments. And would parents please stand to be recognized by Dr. Murillo as your child is recognized? All right. So for band, yeah. Anna Bays is a junior horn player. Anna, join us, please. Rolando Martinez Rico, sophomore baritone saxophonist, a sophomore. Ashlyn Peraza, senior flute, and this is her second time being part of the All-State. Welcome back to the board meeting, Mia Kawamitsu, junior, oboe. Mia was an alternate and performed very well during her audition. Okay. Gabe Albertus is a senior who is a percussionist, but he is on a college visit tonight. So we'll be able to make sure he gets that later, but not recognize him this evening. All right. For chorus, we have, I'm not sure if Alex is here, Alex Lakai, baritone. This is his third year, and I haven't seen him tonight. Okay, we'll make sure he gets that. Jaden Ballantyne's a tenor. And I don't see Riley Pope, who made the chorus also. She is from Abraham Lincoln High School. So, okay. And then from orchestra, we are very proud that Wyatt Green was our representative from Council Bluffs playing the violin. And we're going to make sure to take a group picture. President Kazire, would you like to join in the photo? Sure. With Dr. Murillo? No. Yep. So we have band and orchestra represented, but not chorus tonight. There, perfect. That's perfect.
Parents can come
Yes,
up and take
please.
pictures. Please, we don't bite. Come up front.
Don't be shy. I think some of these students have received stars before because they know how to hold them. Look at that. Like, I know they have, as a matter of fact. Everybody have their photos? Okay, congratulations again, all staters. And I'd be remiss if we didn't thank, of course, the parents, but their instructors for all of the dedicated time and effort they spend in coaching these young people and making sure that they are performing at their best. So we will make sure and thank them as well. All right. If I may, I'll move on to recognizing our Employees of the Month for October. We are very pleased tonight to welcome Chris Whitmore, who's a custodian at Longfellow Elementary. Chris, would you please join us up front and let us visit about you here? No. And we took Ms. Whitmore away from her duties at Longfellow tonight. She had a special dispensation to be able to do that, but. Yeah, well, we're going to share some words that your nominators provided to us tonight. And she is joined here tonight by Erin Rang and, of course, Stacy Pettit in Facilities and Maintenance and Custodial Services. Principal Gary Milborn really wanted to be here, but we didn't want whatever he had. So he sends his best as well. All right, Chris. As at many schools, the beginning of the year is hectic, but at Longfellow, we had many staff members receiving updated furniture, many teachers receiving new science materials, and all of our staff transitioning to new math. So this nominator shared that she specifically remembers Christina hauling out piles of recyclables in the pouring rain. She did this with a smile on her face and a happy to help attitude. Her grace is truly astounding. Another one shared, not only is she right on top of getting her job done doing custodian duties, but when I had a flat tire, do you remember that? And the car wouldn't start, she was the first to respond and help out. She got the cables, jumped the car, and followed up with me the next day to make sure all was well. Chris is an asset to our school culture of caring. Her hard work ethic and positive outlook radiates through each classroom she touches. And you touch them all, don't you? Yep. Chris takes pride in her work and creates an atmosphere where teachers can focus on their preparation and an environment and where students can focus, learn, and excel. Classroom teachers had many rave reviews about Chris. She's a friendly face, greeting us at the end of the school day, and gets as much done during her time here as she can. This is evident by the way she is consistent each night, but also does extra when possible. She is considerate and truly cares about her impact here at Longfellow. Chris makes this a great place for students to learn and grow, and isn't that what it's all about? Congratulations, Chris. Dr. Murillo has presented you with this trophy, which is a partnership provided by our Council Bluffs Schools Foundation, and she also has a gift card to Lincoln's Pub here on the 100 block for $50. So please enjoy, and congratulations. Okay. And then Rob Lindquist is our licensed staff member of the year. Rob, please join us up front with Dr. Murillo to receive your trophy and gift card as our, again, our licensed staff member of the month. We're going to share a little bit about you too, Rob, if that's all right. Rob is the journalism teacher at Thomas Jefferson High School. How many years have you been doing that? 10th year. So a decade of his impact on students. Here is what Rob's nominators shared about him. Rob is always a positive employee who is quick to volunteer his time to the school. He works each week with students to produce a video news program, Swarm TV, and is always available to attend activities and outside events to help his students have the best experience. He works hard to build positive relationships with his students and his peers. He accompanied his students most recently to have an authentic and unique workplace experience when the president came to town. Having our students work side by side with members of the local and national press is priceless as our student journalists determine whether journalism is a career path that they might pursue. Rob is also involved in the community, serving last year on the City of Council Bluffs Image Committee and on the core team that created the city's marketing campaign. And we're proud that he represents our schools at on a greater scale. So again, congratulations to Rob, and the trophy and gift card are thanks to our Community Schools Foundation. Mr. Kosier, would you join in photos in the back? And thank you.
I'm all for it.
I was thinking of trying to get people. New home buyer. You said, the
It's not required.
home
that they
buyer
live here.
assistance.
This is a reward.
Oh, you're welcome. One last thing that I have here in front of me for student recognition. I have a letter here from Mia Laustrup and Lisa Hardesty, College and Career Coordinator and Senior College and Career Coordinator. This is regarding the Hour of Coding. And it says here, greetings. On behalf of the AIM Trio Talent Search Program, we would like to invite you to join our Hour of Code event on Monday, December 3rd, 2018, at Woodrow Wilson Middle School from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Hour of Code will make a strong statement that Council Bluffs is ready to teach our students critical 21st century skills. Computer science is foundational for every industry today, yet most schools don't teach it. AIM Institute, the headquarters for the AIM Trio Talent Search Program, and administration and staff at Wilson Middle School are trying to change that. We want to ensure that our students are on the forefront of creating the technology of the future, not just consuming it. Did you know that computing is the #1 source of wages in the United States? There are more than 500,000 computing jobs open nationwide, but last year only 42,960 computer science students graduated into the workforce. That's why the entire school is joining in the largest learning event in history, the Hour of Code during Computer Science Education Week, December 3rd through the 9th of this year. More than 100 million students worldwide have already tried an Hour of Code event. So as they're saying in conclusion, please join us for this great day of coding. After checking in at the main office at Woodrow Wilson, one of the directors will direct you to the classrooms. The best time to visit and see the students in action would be from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. As you know, Monday is a short day, and the students will have an early lunchtime. So we hope to see you there. Thank you. Signed, Mia and Lisa. So if you had time, it would be well worth the effort to see this 1 hour of coding. You've done that in the past, and I know you've gained a lot from that.
And I know that that whole week, I think, is kind of a STEM week, I believe. I think Google's actually doing something too. I know at TJ, they're doing a workshop for girls over age 13 on like the 16th, or on the 6th. I mean, it's a, yeah,
Yes, please,
nice.
I've opened the door for you, so please step through.
Exactly. There's going to be all kinds of things going on that week. Hour of Code on the 3rd is one of them. Also, it's the Thursday of that week, so I think that's the 6th. Google is sponsoring a local event and inviting students who are 13 and older, and girls only, to an event called Made with Code. And that event is going to be held somewhere in the community. I think they're still trying to figure out how many people are coming before, to identify a specific spot, probably one of the theaters, honestly. There's going to be a coding event and a reveal or a premiere screening of a short film that has been produced about women in technology. So really big event, and I saw somebody's name on the list for young ladies who will be attending that day, and our instructional coaches and computer science teachers will be chaperoning that. All girls. It'll be girl power that day. So.
I assume high schools are promoting that? I mean,
Yes. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We're limited to 40 participants, and we'll have all of our 40. It's kind of a race to get permission slips turned back in so that you can be included. So it's a 6-hour event, and again, another thing that our great partner Google is putting on for the students in the community.
So again, if you have some time available, it would be well worth your effort to recognize our students who are advancing their skills in coding. Before us now is our resolution section of the meeting, and we have, do we have a motion regarding the 2017-18 audit?
I move we accept the 2017-2018 audit report.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to the vote. Before us now is the acceptance of the 2017-18 audit. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Arthur,
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw,
Yes.
Dr. Ogres.
Yes.
Mr. McGlade,
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
and Mr. Kazire.
Yes, and the motion to approve our 2017-18 audit report has been approved. Before us now, we have a request for modified supplemental enrollment. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the request from the SBRC for a modified supplemental amount of limited English proficiency of $299,200 for 200 limited English students served beyond 4 years, and open enrollment out of $821,004.80 for 122 students open enrolled out on fall 2018 certified enrollment, but not on the fall 2000. I'm not sure that that makes sense. Out on fall 2018 certified enrollment, but not on the fall 2018 certified enrollment.
That should have been 17.
17.
17
2017
yes.
certified enrollment.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, before us is the motion to approve the request for modified supplemental amount for open enrollment out and LEP students served beyond 4 years. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. LaFurla,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Dr. Ogres.
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw,
Yes.
Mr. McGlade,
Yes.
Mr. Arthur,
Yes.
Mr. Kazire.
Yes, and the motion is carried. Before us now is a calendar. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the school calendar for 2019-2020 as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second before us regarding the school calendar for 2019-20. Is there any discussion?
So first day of school is August 27th. Behind it, it says begin September 1st. What does that mean? When you open the school calendar,
Yeah, it's in the.
it says August 27th, first day of school / begin September 1st. Semester one, I need cheaters. Okay, with the last day of school being May 28th. Okay. And you're taking snow days based upon maybe spring vacations? Haven't decided yet.
Now that the state is really counting by minutes and not by days, we have a couple of days still that we have banked inside of the schedule.
Okay.
So we will be able to pull on those if we need to. If not, we will continue on either from taking in April, or I would venture that most teachers will ask us to move into the Christmas year. We would have more than two.
Okay.
Yes, question for the board. Am I the only one who receives all kinds of questions about these short winter breaks? Curious, this year is I think it's about 12 days, which to me doesn't seem all that short, but on act, it's like it's about 4 or 5 days plus the holidays and the weekends. I've just heard from a lot of people about that.
Or about it being shorter
Yeah.
than 2 full weeks.
I mean, it is shorter than it's been in recent years, and
That is correct. We have shortened the, what we call a winter break, in order to be able to dismiss the school year by June. If we took a longer winter break, we would be going into June as we were before. And some of
That
that reason
makes
is because we can't start till after the 23rd. And so that really, and what I I heard and when we did the surveys, when Dr. Vorthman did the surveys for us, they appreciate getting the students at school. When I did my lunch and learn with them last year, my high school students were on me about that. When are you gonna get us out before June 8th or June, if we had the snow days? So we did trim down some of the winter vacation so that we could then be able to be dismissed in May versus June.
The other change I noticed there from past practice, 2 different days for graduation.
Yes.
Can't get the facility for the,
This year, it's different too. It's on a Friday night,
Saturday.
and a Saturday.
And that was the selection of the high schools. They liked that it was the longer weekend, which in Missouri, a lot of school districts use that weekend, so there's travel time for relatives. And the other piece, the reason they voted for the Friday night and the Saturday is if we do have families trying to get out of town for Memorial Day weekend, they have that ability to leave by noon on Saturday. If we would've went all day Saturday, then families would not have been able to leave until Sunday, not being able to take advantage of the extended weekend. So that's why they elected the Friday night and Saturday.
But this year, AL is Friday night and TJ's
Yes.
Saturday morning.
And then it will flip the next year.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, before us now is the approval of our 2019-2020 school calendar. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Ogres,
Yes.
Mr. Arthur,
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw,
Yes.
Mr. McGlade,
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla,
yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Kazire.
Yes. Okay, before us now is the memorandum of understanding with the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Department. Is there a motion?
I'll move we approve the MOU with the Potawatomi County Sheriff's Office, Division of Communications, as presented in the packet.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I don't know, I wonder, just for people at home, there's some wording here about trying to coordinate emergency responses through the departments, and that this is something that a majority of school districts in Potawatomi County already have in place, and we don't, and that there is protections in place to stop unauthorized access to the CCTV, or CCSTV, CCSTV system within the district. Anything else we should know about this?
Mr. Fringer worked on this kind of MOU for us with the division, and I think it's really another demonstration of us being a good partner with our community, Mr. Fringer.
This formalizes actually an agreement that we've had in place for some time. We've changed the method of access to our closed-circuit security camera system and thought it was also a good time to get in place a formal agreement between the city and the 911 folks, or I mean, between the school district and the 911 center, so that we have a clear understanding of responsibilities and we can keep access to our cameras safe, so not just anybody can be looking at our cameras, but when it's appropriate, first responders, whether that be fire, ambulance, police, including federal response, if that was ever necessary, would have access to the cameras, and they could see what's going on inside the building real time and then plan their response accordingly. Obviously, something you hope never has to happen, but in the event that it does, it would be a great tool for those folks.
I'm just curious, what is the trigger for them to look at the camera? I mean, is there a certain predefined set, or?
When first responders are en route to the scene, if the commander, the person in charge of the response unit, determines that having a bird's eye view or an inside the building view would be an appropriate need, then the 911 center will bring up those cameras and make them available to the to the first responders. The other thing that we are lucky that we have in our buildings are school resource officers who have access to these systems all the time. So it's highly likely that during school hours, when a SRO is on duty, that's going to be quick. If it was necessary, those school resource officers would have access immediately to that and would be communicating with the first responders anyway. A good example would be a fire in the middle of the night, just a fire alarm at one of our buildings, and they kind of want to see, how big, where, should we bring a second alarm and that kind of thing. So that would be a visual way for them to make that before they actually arrive on scene.
How sufficient are our cameras on the properties at this point? 'Cause I know-
Very sufficient right now. The cameras themselves are very modern, digital cameras.
Have those changed recently in the last?
This is our second wave. We've replaced all of the camera systems now at all buildings. We had analog systems originally dating back to, gosh, it must have been about 2003 or 4 when we started that project. And then those systems have become obsolete, and we went through with the facilities and maintenance department using a designated PEPAL budget each year, a sweep through the district, and all the camera systems have been now upgraded to a modern system. What's always a challenge is the DVR, how much can you store and for how long? We keep what we record for 14 days. The next generation of cameras is cloud-based, where you would,
Right.
like the Ring doorbell you have at home, where you can access in the cloud, which works great for one camera. But when you have 60 at a high school, that is a lot of
Right.
data. So the third generation camera systems are out, and we'll probably start transitioning to those next through our regular replacement cycle.
Have we found that the transition of those new digital cameras has provided better visual aspects of things that we've been looking at, or?
That would be, a question specifically to ask of building personnel, but we have been most often able to locate and provide high-quality images of things that happen in our schools,
Great.
whether that be to law enforcement occasionally, or whether that's just trying to see which kids went out that door. Those kinds of things are used on a daily basis, wondering who went out the door. They bring up the camera and typically can identify those kids. They're that good of resolution. Then also things that happen in our parking lots. I believe one of the board members had a run-in with a fast driver in a parking lot, and we were able to pull up some video of that event that helped.
Great.
So, and that was the old system, by the way. The Abraham Lincoln cameras were the last ones to be upgraded, so.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for that additional information. If that has answered all the questions, we have before us a memorandum of understanding with the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Department. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Arthur,
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw,
Yes.
Dr. Ogres.
Yes.
Mr. McGlade,
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Kazire.
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Before us next is the approval of a contract with Meyer Building Solution. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval of the contract with Meyer Building Solutions LLC to act as owner's representative for the Target renovation between the period of November 27, 2018 and August 31st, 2019.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract. Is there any discussion? Mr. Grove?
This is just for the Target building?
No. This is, the way it was written, one of the primary focuses that Mr. Myers would be focusing on is ensuring that we get moved into the Target building and the Target building is constructed correctly. But he will be the owner's rep, or the project manager for all 3 buildings. So he will begin to be a part of the process on all 3. And
That's described in the contract.
It is, it is?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, I must have missed that, because it says Kern Middle School.
In the
The
second
That's what
paragraph
was
of the
confusing
contract,
to me. Pardon?
in the second paragraph of the contract, it says Kern, Wilson, and Target property.
Okay, didn't read it carefully. sorry.
It's okay. Small print.
I need cheaters, Bill. We're on the same page, man.
Yeah.
Mr.
And then,
Glade.
Dr. Merrill, I think,
Yes.
is this the same who you sent like the resume and everything
That
in
is
last
correct.
Friday? Okay.
Yes. And Mr. Myers is here tonight. I wanted you all to be able to meet him. Mr. Myers, if you would stand. And I wanted you to see the gentleman that would be working with us.
Already got him working?
Not yet.
Now, you gotta,
Not
gotta
yet.
sign that,
I have
gotta
to
sign
wait.
that
I
paper.
have to wait.
Yeah.
I do have him scheduled to roll.
Hearing no further discussion, before us now is the vote on the approval of the contract with Meyer Building Solutions LLC. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. LaFurla,
Yes.
Mr. McGlade,
Yes.
Dr. Ogres.
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Arthur,
Yes.
Mr. Kazire.
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Before us now is the sale of property near Thomas Jefferson High School. Is there a motion?
Move to approve that the board accepts an offer from the city of Council Bluffs to sell 361 square feet at $15 per square foot at the southwest corner of 25th and Broadway as presented.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr., you had a, nope, are you good? Okay, okay. Any discussion? Any discussion regarding this motion? Hearing none, we will move forward with the vote on the sale of property near TJ High School. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Ogres.
Yes.
Mr. Arthur,
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw,
Yes.
Mr. McGlade,
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Kazire.
Yes, and the motion is approved. Now we have the plans, specifications, and form of contract for the CTE renovation projects at Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson High Schools. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the plan specifications and form of contract for bid 19010, Council Bluffs Community School District, ALTJ High Schools, CTE remodel Phase 2.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Minshaw,
Yes.
Mr. Arthur,
Yes.
Dr. Ogres.
Yes.
Mr. McGlade,
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Kazire.
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Last of our resolutions is the approval of a job description. Is there a motion?
I'll move that the board of directors approve the job description for preschool teacher assistant, general education and general special education, and preschool teacher assistant specialized program.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
It's mentioned that this is not creating a position, so this is just to clarify that our paraeducators are meeting the standard.
To ens- Correct. To ensure we're compliant, we need to make sure that the job description aligns with the title, and so that we're meeting the state and federal. So this is to get us in alignment and to get it corrected.
Point.
Should also not lead to any retraction.
Force or,
Nope.
yeah.
Nope, we're gonna just put them in that, right.
Good point.
Everything been answered? Okay, before us now is the approval of the job description. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Arthur, Mr. LaFurla,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Dr. Ogres.
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw,
Yes.
Mr. McGlade,
Yes.
Mr. Kazire.
Yes, and the motion has carried. Before us now is our consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I will move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to the vote regarding our consent agenda. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. McGlade?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
And Mr. Kazire.
Yes. The motion is carried. With that, our business has been completed, and we are adjourned.